Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. I am Ryan Bowling. Thank you all for joining me. So, doing a interview on a podcast Tuesday night, I believe the interviewer was surprised when Trump called Kamala Harris a communist. Well, he called her a communist because he said they call me a fascist. So I'm going to fight fire with fire. I'm going to call her a communist. Let's get into some of this. This is very, very interesting because I certainly have something to say about this. Yeah, yeah, you need to fight fire with fire. But let's get into this. Republican presidential nominee, former President Donald Trump, said during a podcast interview Tuesday he calls his opponent Kamala Harris a communist because the left calls him a fascist. You have to fight fire with fire, he explained. He explained on the Lex Fridman podcast. I don't know who he is. Maybe you guys know. I have no clue. Trump's comment came after the host, Fridman, I'm sorry, not Friedman, but Fridman, I believe that's how you pronounce it, asked him what he respected most about the left. That's an odd question. What do you respected most about the left? Ugh, I would say nothing. I personally don't respect nothing about them because I think they. But let me stop because I know some people from the left is watching this. So let me be respectful. God forgive me, forgive me, people. Okay, I respect everyone's choice, but that's as far as I'm gonna go there. Trump said he respected anyone who was involved. Well, look, I respect the fact that everybody's in there. And you know, to a certain extent, life is what you do while you're waiting to die. So you might as well do a good job. Let me say this. When I made a comment, I don't respect anything from the left, I'm talking about those in positions of authority and power, politicians, college professors and stuff like that. I'm not talking about people who vote for the left or whatever, because some things I do agree with. I do agree with freedom of expression and freedom to make the kind of movies you want to make without being censored. But that's another story, and I digress. Okay, I do respect that. Anyway, he said, however, he believed this year's election is the most important election in the nation's history, and if he did not win the election, the country will be a communist country. He said, quote, "We have a chance to save the country. This country is going down." And I called it with Venezuela. I called it with a lot of different countries. And this country is going down if we don't win this election. The election coming up on November the 5th is the most important election this country has ever had because if we don't want it, I don't know that there'll be another election and it's going to be a communist country or close. Friedman said there was a lot of people who did not think Harris is a communist. Okay. Trump responded, well, she's a Marxist. So that argument can be said, Marxism and communism is similar, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Well, she's a Marxist, noting that her father's a Marxist and that some of her ideas she has put forth are Marxist, such as price controls. He said, quote, she's advocating for some policies that are towards the direction of democratic socialism, which really is a soft form of communism, but I'll talk about that a little later. Let's say, but there's a lot of people that kind of know the way the government works, and they say, well, none of those policies are going to actually come to reality. It's just being used during the campaign to, groceries are too expensive. Man, he goes all over the place. We need them cheaper. So let's talk about price controls, and that's never going to come to reality. It could come to reality. Look, she came out with price control. It's been tried like 121 different times at different places over the years, and it's never worked once. It leads to communism. It leads to socialism. Well, usually how the order of that is, it leads to socialism, which eventually leads to communism. It doesn't lead to communism and then go to socialism. It usually leads to socialism, which is a soft form of communism. Communism is socialism 2.0 or socialism on steroids. That's the ultimate goal is communism. So the order is here not necessarily accurate. Anyway, it leads to having no food on the shelves, yes, and leads to tremendous inflation, yes. Friedman, who is an independent, responded, it's just bad idea whenever we use terms like communism for her. And I don't know if you know this, but some people call you a fascist. This guy here is question is like, does he really know what's going on? Does he really know? They didn't call Trump fascist, but now they call him Trump. They didn't call him a Nazi or racist since the man was in office in 2017. I mean, they've been calling this man all kinds of names, fascist and Nazi. I don't know how many times they didn't call him that. People on the mainstream news, leftist Democratic politicians. People on the streets have said it, and they don't know anything about Nazism. I guarantee you, most people on the street don't know much of anything about true Nazism. They haven't picked up a book and cracked it open and looked to see. So for him to call her a communist, that's a big deal. They do it all the time with people on the right. Man, get out of here. Get out of here, man. Anyway, Trump responded, yeah, they do. So I figure it's all right to call them a communist. Yeah, they call me a lot worse than I call them. Trump noted that whenever he gets attacked and responds, people focus on what he said versus that he is responding to them. He says, it's just something interesting, though. They call me something that's terrible. And then I'll hit them back and they'll say, isn't it terrible what Trump said? I said, wait a minute. They just called me, and he didn't say, so I believe you have to fight fire with fire. He added, I believe they're very evil people. I agree. That's one of the reasons why I don't like liberals and far leftists in positions of authority, and because my stomach hurts when I hear them talk, mainly because of the fact that they pose as the good guys. I have more respect for a Luciferian and a Satanist and a witch than I do liberals in positions of authority, because at least with people in the occult, like Luciferians and Satanists and witches, at least they tell you they know where they stand. They tell you where we stand. Okay, we're not your friends. This is what we believe, and this is what we adhere to. We're not trying to be your friends. Okay, liberal politicians try to be your friends. They pose as the arbiters of righteousness and morality, and they know in their heart they're lying for political gain and power and control. I can't stand them. So they are evil people. Anyway. These are evil people, We have an enemy from the outside and we have an enemy from within. And in my opinion, the enemy from within are radical left lunatics. Yep. And I think you have to fight back. You do. I agree. End of article. Yes, I agree. Okay. So what is my take on this? I agree. Okay. You have to fight fire with fire. They call it, I've been called all kinds of names. You know what I mean? I've been called all kinds of names and coons and all this kind of stuff. But let me get back a little bit on the Marxists and then the communist thing. Marxism is the ideology. It comes from Karl Marx, the founder of communism. People have told me I don't know anything about communism. I'm not finna get into that. Okay. I'm not finna get into that. Maybe I may make a video explaining what I believe it is based on my studies and reading. But anyway, communism and Marxism are similar, but they're different. Marxism is the philosophy, okay? It's the worldview, the ideology, okay, that came from Karl Marx, the founder of communism in 1840, who wrote the Communist Manifestos in 1848 with his friend Engel, okay, who was his friend, and he helped assist him with the writing of that document. But Marxism is the framework, it's the skeleton, it's the philosophy behind communism, okay? Marxism explains a lot of the economic policies of communism. It goes into the philosophies of it, the ideology of it. Communism is the actual meat on the bones of Marxism. It is the government itself. Communism is the complete control of the production of goods and services and so forth. That's when the government controls everything, okay? Because the idea is that the capitalists have taken control of everything and are enslaving and oppressing those who don't have and taking from them and stealing from them. So let us, the righteous government, take control of the production of goods, and we will evenly distribute it among the people. Well, as we know, if you really want to be real, you ought to know that history shows that's the direct opposite. Communism is the most oppressive political regime in human history, but that's another story, and I digress. There's a difference between communism and Marxism. They're different, but they're similar. Marxism is the philosophy, the ideology. Communism is the flesh on the bones, okay? It is the actual government system itself that has control over all these things, like the schools and production of goods, even some churches and religion, they have control over that. So that's the difference between the two, but they are similar, okay? If you call someone a Marxist wants communism. One of the elements of Marxism is that a person who is a Marxist is a communist, okay? All right. But a Marxist is more detailed in trying to explain the economic policies, if they can do so, of communism and so forth, as well as causing division. One of the things that Marxists do is that they go out and they try to incite more division and anger between opposing groups. There may already be disagreements between certain groups. Marxists set out to cause more tension between the groups in order to cause a revolution among them, a revolution of violence, and then the Marxists, i.e. communists, come in and save the day and implement communism. That's what Black Lives Matter was all about, and still are. You haven't been hearing much about them, but I'm pretty sure you'll probably hear something about them when the election comes up, or we start getting close to the election. You'll probably see them popping their big fat heads up somewhere. Because you would have to think, why they're here? They're here to terrorize conservatives or anyone who wants to vote for Trump. That's the only reason. That's the only reason they're going to come on the scene, or something's going to get cooked up to give reason to try to stop the election. But anyway, yeah, I agree with Trump. Fight fire with fire. They called him a fascist. They called him a Nazi. So I'm going to call her a communist. What's the problem? And really, in so many ways, she may not confess out of her own mouth that she's a communist, but she certainly is in many ways a socialist. Okay? Her policies are socialist. Socialism, Marxism, communism, and progressivism are not good. I'm not going to go into the detail of that, but they're not. The ultimate goal is communism. But socialism, democratic socialism, which is something that Trump mentioned, and that's what AOC is a member of. She's a member of the Democratic Socialist Party of America that have infiltrated American politics and have been a part of American politics for decades. The purpose of democratic socialism is to, rather than using force and violence, the democratic socialists believe in using the voting process, hence the term democratic, using the voting process to get in office. Convince gullible, blind, dumbed down people that you are for them, you're for the working person, you want them to have equality, you want them to have goods, free medication, free health care, and free this and free that, and present this Trojan horse before them, and they say, woo, ah, wee, woo, ah, oh, that's so great, woo, we're going to vote for you, wee. They vote for them, they get in office and give you hell. That is the history, okay? That's the history. What's going to change now if they're in office? What? They got some new system, new political system that's going to be able to truly bring in a democratic socialist or communist utopia? Bull crap. It's never going to happen. In fact, the book of Revelation predicts it's going to be a living hell on earth, the most oppressive regime in all of human history, and it will be led by one man. I know some people don't believe in that, but keep on living. You're going to see it. Guaranteed. But anyway. Get off the religious thing. No, it's destructive, man. Communism, progressivism, and all that other stuff is destructive. Democratic socialism has been a part of America for decades. AOC is a member of that group. The Communist Party of America, I think they still are running pretty strong in America. They infiltrated the American politics and American system all the way back in the 1920s for crying out loud. Are you kidding me? These groups have been in this country for decades and decades and decades, but no one sees it, right? You're going to see something, though. So even if Kamala Harris doesn't come out and say, I'm a communist, she certainly is socialist in her worldviews and her policies. And guarantee you, if she gets in office, she will implement many, if not most, of these socialist policies. And she will not close the border. I don't believe that at all. That's a bunch of flippity-flop line nonsense. I don't believe at all she's going to change any of those policies. She's not going to, I don't believe she's going to do it. She's saying she's going to close the borders, But I don't believe she's going to do that. She's saying that because she's playing political games. I said that in the last video, and I'm going to say it here. She's playing political games. I don't believe her at all that she's going to close the borders, or rather give more money to finance closing it. I don't believe it at all. I don't believe it at all. We may not have a depression, but we certainly ain't going to have, it's not going to be good. So yeah, fight fire with fire. Fight fire with fire. And sometimes I'm like, okay, you call me. Now, let me take it back. I don't call people names necessarily per se. They call me names and stuff like that. You know, you're a fascist, or you're a coon, you're a sellout, you're a MF. I've had people call me some of the worst names. I don't call people names back on the comment sections, or people that I deal with on my job, so forth, that have a problem with me being a black conservative. I don't call them names back because I know that once I start doing that, it's going to poison my spirit. I may respond, and it may not be the best response, but there are, more often than not, I want to cuss them the heck out. I want to call them all kinds of names. I mean, you wouldn't imagine. I pray daily, God, help me govern my thoughts and govern my words, so I don't call these people MFs back. Okay, so I don't call them you about this and you about that. Once I start doing that, it's like, you know, it poisons my spirit. But I do agree with Trump calling her a communist. That's not a cuss word. You call me a fascist and a Nazi, I'm calling you a communist. And now this independent guy said, well, she's, it's not good to call her that. And, it's not really popular. Well, why not? You guys call Trump a fascist. You call him a Nazi. You call conservatives Nazis and fascists. Why not? I'll go as far as to say, okay, you a communist. I'll go as far as to say you are Marxist. I'll go as far as to say you a socialist. How about that? Let me just end the video on that note. I may not call people MFs and you stupid and you nothing, you like people have called me, and Uncle Tom's, all this other dumb stuff. But I'll go as far as say you're a socialist. I'll go as far as say you're a Marxist. I'll go as far as say you're progressive. I'll go as far as to say you're a communist. I'm not cussing at you. Not cussing you out, calling you names, but I am calling you, I am calling you a name, but I'm calling you a name that doesn't insult you. I'm calling you a name that you might want to dig into and find out what it really means. And I'm not talking about the mainstream media neither, because they're halfway communists. They're not going to make it look like it's supposed to actually look. But anyway, fight fire with fire. And hopefully you'll burn her, okay, and her administration, Trump. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. You want to call me a fascist and a Nazi? I'm calling you a communist. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all. See you again.